please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Representative Farrington. Representative Farrington was first elected in November 2016 to the Michigan House. She represents the people of the city of Utica, parts of Sterling Heights, and Shelby Charter Township. Welcome, Representative Diana Farrington. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me this afternoon.
Awesome. We appreciate you taking out time to speak with us today. And tell me, are you still chair on the Committee on Financial Services and also a member of three other committees: Commerce and Tourism, Workforce Trades and Talents, and Tax Policy? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'd like to start with an icebreaker. We'd like to know a fun fact about you, something that we don't know about you that you'd be willing to share that we couldn't find online
Oh, well,
for our listeners.
probably. Well, I will tell you a fun thing that I love to do, and it's something I like to do on my downtime, and I don't get a chance to do it that often, but I love to bake. I am a very good baker.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
yes, and I love to bake. I love to
Holidays.
take, right? I love to take the time to bake. My husband loves my creme brulee, which is awesome. I think myself. Um,
Wow.
but I think he's just telling me that just because he's my husband, right?
Well, likes to eat those sweets, huh?
You know what? We both do really good. So I could probably eat a dessert over a dinner, to be honest
Right,
with
right.
you.
I start with desserts now.
Right? Right? Me too, if I could.
Yep. Well, thank you for that. So, I'd like to know, our listeners would love to know, what was your background in financial literacy before this bill passed?
Well, as you know, as you mentioned in the very beginning, I've been the chair of the Services Committee for the past 6 years. And
Mm-hmm.
prior to my election in public office, I worked in the private sector as a mortgage underwriter, and I also worked in quality control.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and that's my background.
Okay. So, we'd also like to know, are you a new legislator in terms of leading an effort like this? Is this your first time as a sponsor, or rather a main sponsor of a bill?
Well, it depends upon how you define a new legislator. Because we have term limits here in Michigan. So it's hard to say that anyone is an experienced legislator, right?
True. True.
However, I've served 3 terms in the Michigan House of Representatives, so I have about 6 years of experience at this point. Um,
Okay.
my husband was my predecessor, and he served
Okay.
in the House for 6 years prior to me as well.
Okay.
So collectively, we have about 12 years of legislative experience together.
Mhm.
The question I think you asked of whether or not I led an effort like this before or not is a bit kind of loaded.
Uh-oh.
Because this was a major reform to the Michigan merit curriculum for
Yeah.
Michigan. So I can't imagine that there were a lot tougher bills to pass than this one because changing the merit curriculum is difficult.
Yes.
But with that
I
said,
imagine.
I've had more than a dozen bills signed, and I've led other successful efforts in the past. Without question, though, this one was probably the hardest.
Oh, okay. Got you. So, tell us about the bill. What can parents and students expect going into the new school year now that the law is passed?
Okay, well, parents can expect that children can establish a foundation of financial knowledge,
Hmm.
right? Um, and they can build upon that in the future by getting it in the high school, right? And having a standalone course in the high school for financial literacy. The exact specifications of the classroom material is still pending in the Michigan Department of Education, right? So
Okay.
it's up to the department to come up with the curriculum in the class.
Gotcha.
Yep. Um, but I anticipate the students will know how to budget. They should understand how credit works, the importance of interest rates. They should learn about taxes, the difference between gross income, net income, and how to plan a month's salary around the income to be able to take care of the costs and expenses. So all in all, I'm pretty confident that the student will add a really important tool to their respective toolbox going out into the real world, right?
Right, right. Well, we know that you've received some support from some heavy hitters across the state, the Michigan Credit Union League and affiliates, the Small Business Association of Michigan, the president and CEO of the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce,
Yeah.
and the president and CEO of Michigan Bankers Association, of which I'm a member,
Uh-huh.
Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist II, and finally, Big Gretch, of course, the Honorable Governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer.
Uh-huh.
We know that you've said that, and I'm just going to give your quote. The course will teach students to manage their finances. They'll be
Mhm.
prepared to make smart, everyday budget choices and equipped to handle the challenges that come through their way. Establishing a core class dedicated to financial literacy has been a years long labor of love for me, and I'm truly excited for the students who will fly to new heights through a richer, fuller education. So I know that,
Absolutely.
this is something you've been working on for some time. So, what was the most difficult part of getting this legislation signed and bipartisan support? I mean, what are or were there any roadblocks, obstacles, challenges you encountered? And in hindsight, what would you do differently?
Um, honestly, let me start with what I would do differently.
Okay.
This was a labor of love for me. And definitely a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
I had originally started this piece of legislation my freshman term.
Your
And
first term?
yep, yep,
Wow.
I have started this since my freshman term. So it's taken me 6 years. And honestly, being a freshman in the legislature, I'm very, very green, right? I'm hoping to get something done in 2 months, and that isn't just the way legislation works, right? We're here
No,
to
it's not.
govern and be kind of methodical, right? So
Yeah.
I definitely want to say I learned a lot my freshman term on how things work and building the coalition. And you mentioned quite a few people in the coalition, right,
Yes.
already.
Yes.
Um, yeah, it's taken me quite a bit of time to get this through. So probably as far as what I would do differently is probably brought that coalition sooner to the table, right? And
Mm-hmm.
to the team.
Well, I mean, you have to gather support.
Right,
my guess is that takes time.
right. And
Don't
so I
know
think
who's supporting this type
right.
of effort, so you have to
Right.
figure that
And
out.
so I think I would have done that differently, would have probably got a coalition together a lot sooner. But again, I learned that over my years being in the legislature, right?
Mhm.
So that's probably something I would do different. Um, but again, as I told you, this has taken me 6 years.
Yeah.
Um, in the end, it was a great product. It ended up being a bipartisan piece of legislation on
Hmm.
both sides, both Democrats and Republicans, because
Yes.
I believe everybody understood the importance of how financial literacy needs to be in our schools to teach our
That's
young adults
yeah.
just the fundamental basics. It just makes their life a healthier life as well, right?
Correct. Correct. Yeah, that's true. Um, and that actually leads into the next question, which is for us policy wonks who need to know, how does this law change or does it change the existing revised school code? That's Act 451 of 1976, the Michigan Compiled Law, Section 380 1165, which is financial education programs. which already provided for the concept of financial literacy through the teaching of personal financial management skills and the basic principles of earning, spending, saving, borrowing, and investing. So, how did HB 5190, House Bill 5190, change that?
Okay. Well, the previous mandate